Yo, what is up guys? Trem here. So I've just finished my first full season of competitive online racing. I was racing in AOR, and generally my experiences of it were very good. If you've never done any sort of league racing before and you really want to, then I really do strongly suggest you at least look into it. If not, certainly sign up to a league. The quality of racing compared to the online lobbies is so much better, basically because you don't get every moron on God's green earth trying to crash into you if you lap or overtake them. The racing itself is generally quite clean, it's very competitive, and I know in the league I raced with, the guys are quite social as well. We had a great laugh both on and off the track. So yeah, if you really want to do something like this, I do strongly suggest you sign up for it. The season ended last night, as I say. I didn't win the championship, but to be honest, I was not expecting to, with it being my first full season. I didn't really have any goals going into this season apart from not crash at every single racetrack, which thankfully I didn't. I know at the start of the season I had no pace at all compared to the front runners, so I think my goals early on were just finishing the points as often as I could. It didn't matter whether it was 8th, 9th, 10th, just get home, get in the points, and just take it from there. But I know as the season went on, and I did get faster. I don't know whether that was because I just put more practice in than the other guys, or whether I was just getting better at the game. But in the second half of the season, I was challenging for podiums quite regularly, actually, and I did manage at the end of the season to get a couple. So definitely improvements as the season went on. I didn't win a race. I would have liked to, but yeah, at the start of the season, if you'd have said to me I wasn't going to win a race and my best position would have been P2, I'd have been happy with that. I'll go into a bit more detail about how I did in a minute, but what I'm going to do first is just go through the final standings in the championship and just do a bit of a summary on each of the drivers, both good and bad points about them. So let's start at the top. Number one, Oni Ole 97 finished with 276 points. Oniole, or Ule as I've come to know him, didn't actually wrap up the title until the last race at Abu Dhabi, but hands down he was the quickest guy throughout pretty much all of the season. He won 8 of the 18 races that he started and only finished off the podium once, that was down in Monaco. In winning the Drivers' Championship, he becomes the most successful Norwegian driver since. Um, Come to think of it, has there been any successful Norwegian Formula One drivers? Okay, I'll start that again. In winning the Drivers' Championship, Ule becomes the most successful Formula One driver from Norway of all time, considering the fact he's never actually driven a Formula One car in real life. There have been many high points in the season for Ule, but I think the one low point, which he probably won't mind me mentioning, is back in Sochi when, on for third place, he crashed his car on the last lap and then rage quit the session. I guess we're not all perfect, eh, Ule? Number two, Portuguese 68, 268 points, or as we've also come to know him, Mr. Portuguese, aka Ricky, aka Mr. Angry, got that name because of his tendency to blow up in the group chat after races if things didn't go well. The best example of this came at Silverstone when, on the last lap and chasing victory, he came up behind one of the backmarkers who took a little bit longer than usual to get out of his way, and he literally lost the rag with him in the group chat after the race, basically calling him out just for being in existence. All joking aside, though, Ricky had this habit of staying out of trouble earlier on in the races, and that brought him into contention for race wins and podiums that he probably didn't really earn. And I say that because his qualifying performances throughout the season have not really been up to the standard of a champion. I think Ricky likes to make as fewer pit stops as possible, and I think that usually means qualifying on a harder tyre, which puts him down the grid at the start of races. But he, as I say, he tends to stay out of trouble and makes his way back through the field and makes these fewer pit stop strategies work. And credit to him, he stayed in the championship fight right up until the last race, despite only winning 3 races throughout the year compared to Ule's 8. So I think next season, if Portuguese really works on his qualifying performances and getting himself higher up the grid, he really probably will be a contender for the championship, whatever league he's in. But all in all, it was fun racing him, Mexico aside. But I'll forgive you for that one, Ricky. Number three, T-Knock 938, 250 points. T-Knock, or Tomo, certainly had the pace to win the championship, and I think the only reason he didn't was down to his own doing because he missed 4 or 5 races in the middle of the season. I think it's fair to say that on street circuits, this guy was unbeatable in our league, as evidenced by his dominating performance at Monaco when I think he lapped everyone up to and including fourth place, I think. Literally no one could compete with him on that day. And I also know he won in Baku as well and was a contender at Singapore, but was involved in a collision with his old friend Portuguese. So to sum up, he's a very quick driver, and if he can commit himself to a full season, he will definitely be a contender for the championship in a future season.
And that's all I have to say about that.
Number 4, Andon GJ, 229 points. Andon GJ, or Andreas as I've come to know him, probably should have won the championship based on the second half of the season performances. He was a bit slow to get going, like me. We both started in Bahrain, but once he started finishing on the podium, he became quite a regular at it. Winning 4 races, although they didn't come till later in the season, Andreas probably should have won 8 races throughout the course of this year. He actually crossed the line first in both Spain and Germany, but because of the penalties he'd built up during the race, he actually had to concede both of those wins to Ule. Also in China, he was leading on the last lap when he got a puncture and fell from first down to fourth. So plenty of points lost there throughout the season. But the highlight of the season for me, in particular with Andreas, actually came at Monza when this happened. It's during the qualifying session. Andreas has set quite a decent lap. He's going to start second on the grid, and he pauses the game, intending to retire from the session and get ready for the race. But what the clown actually does is quit the session. Yeah, you're not going to win the championship when you do silly things like this, my friend. And I think this is the perfect opportunity to give you one of these. Number 5, Fct-thebest, aka Max Verstappen, 163 points. FCT was our resident Dutchman this season, and like the real Verstappen, he was very inconsistent with his results. On some tracks, like Singapore and Silverstone, he was unbeatable, going from pole position to race victory with relative ease. But on other tracks, you'd be forgiven for thinking he was actually even racing. I don't think I can fault the guy's racecraft, though. He was overall generally quick, and I think in USA he was really unlucky not to win the race. Had he not had that incident on lap 1, I don't think he would have been behind me for very long. I think he would have passed me and gone on to win the race quite easily. But I think the biggest low point for FCT this season definitely came in Austria when, on for a comfortable third place, he managed to have an accident all by himself 2 laps from the end of the race and put himself into the wall. So really unlucky, but yeah, I expect this guy to be challenging for more race wins next season. However, FCT has been involved in a few incidents this season, most notably in Brazil, when going for an overtake on Rafael Ferraz, he was punted up the arse by Kiko Andric, almost taking out Rafael himself and the raging Russian. This actually got so bad that our pit lane reporters actually caught them in the garage after the race, having quite the confrontation.
A good race from you. Vous avez fait une belle course sous la pression de Daniel Ricciardo. Oui, c'était pas simple. Obviously Ferrari's tyre choice didn't look like it worked out in the end. These guys looked very strong at the beginning, certainly Max.
Number 6, Tremenator, aka Sexy Beast. That's me, 133 points. If you would have said to me at the start of the season I would have come 6th, I would have happily taken that. The first half of the season for me was average at best. I think when we came to the Christmas break, I only had about 30 points. And I was generally struggling just to even compete in the lower points positions. But since Christmas, put a lot more time into practice and I've really upped my game. And I think the results in the second half of the season just really show how much I've improved, finishing in the top 6 on a regular basis, including 2 podium positions, which I would not have expected at the start of the season. The highlight for me, though, was definitely qualifying at the USA, where I don't know how in God's green earth I was able to do it, but I managed to secure pole position. Not that it lasted long in the race before Ule got past me and then went on to win, but hey-ho, I've got a pole position. I think next season, if I can keep the level of form I am doing that I finished the season with, barring Abu Dhabi, where I was complete and utter dog shit, I think next season I can certainly challenge for wins, and never know, I might even sneak one if the likes of Ule, Andon, Tinock and Portuguese move up to the league above us. Yeah, there might be an opportunity to win there. I think, though, I need to have less incidents on lap one. That's taken so many good performances away from me this season. I think looking back through my videos, I think in 7 races out of the 17 that I competed in, I had incidents on lap one. Some were my fault, some weren't, but I really need to stomp that out next season if I really want to make a decent challenge at a championship, although I still think I'm probably a couple of seasons away from doing that, but we will see. Number 7, High B Lou 1875, aka Lewis, aka the laggy Scottish guy, 126 points. At the start of the season, Lewis was definitely a contender. 3 second places in the first 3 races meant he was really in the championship challenge, and he followed that up early in the season as well with a number of third places. A couple of DNFs in there, but genuinely, when he finished well and on the podium. After Christmas, though, in the second half of the season, everything changed for Lewis. He only attended 3 races after Christmas, and in those 3 races he was suffering from severe lag, which not only affected him but affected all of the other drivers as well. There was a few incidents, particularly in Japan and Hungary, where his lag actually caused damage to other cars through contact. Now, I've got a theory why things happened here. At Christmas, I think Lewis got a new computer, and only being 18, 19 years of age, I think he discovered that the internet is a great place for pornography. And in doing so, I think he's literally spent the second half of the season with his computer on constant download of all sorts of adult films. This is probably what's given him the lag, and despite us telling him to change the download date of his pornography to a different night, the poor chap didn't listen. And as a result, it's cost him a potential championship challenge in AOR. So I think next season, if he does sign up, I think he should have enough pornography on his computer now to last him quite a while. Hopefully he'll be spent before the race, so he'll be able to race with us. But yeah, Lewis, keep the porno download to a different night, please, and you might actually challenge for wins next year. Number 8, Joe 2397, 100 points. Mr. Consistent Joe was the only driver to compete at all 21 races this season. Coming from the small country of Luxembourg, he managed to pick up 100 points, including 2 fourth-place finishes in Australia and Monza. In finishing 8th in the championship with 100 points, like Ule, Joe has become the most successful driver to ever hail from the nation of Luxembourg, despite never driving a Formula One car in his life. All joking aside, though, early on in the season, Joe was, probably by one of his own admissions as well, one of the backmarkers. However, consistently picking up points in most races, as the season went on, Joe gradually improved and his points finishes gradually increased and increased. In the middle part of the season, he was finishing 5th and 6th on a regular basis, including a 4th place at Italy, as I've just touched upon. So going into next season, should Joe remain with us, I think his target is going to have to be now challenging for podiums. Probably needs to be a little bit quicker in qualifying and not give up positions so easily in the race, but definitely moving in the right direction. So good luck next season, Joe. Number 9, Smitsky, 96 points. Smitsky was another driver who was sampling the world of online racing competitively for the first time this season. Being from Lancashire, you can forgive him for not knowing how to drive, but as the season went on, he gradually improved, scoring a fantastic second position at Monza. However, Smitsky's performances throughout the season were very inconsistent. Good results at places like Hungary and Monza and Japan were followed up with not so good performances in places like Germany, where he actually forgot that you're allowed to overtake the car in front of you, and in Brazil, where nothing went right for him pretty much from the start of qualifying, where he was blocked several times in the session, to the race where he was punted into the wall by FCT. He summed up that session in 3 words: idiot, absolute idiot. Next season, Smitsky hopes to be challenging for wins, which he's going to find really difficult if he's my teammate. But we'll give him our full support. He really, really needs it. I'll sum up Smitsky's season by putting an argument to rest that's been going on for pretty much most of the season since Silverstone. Our incident, Smitsky, was entirely your fault. Number 10. How the hell do you pronounce this one? Is it Irriga? Irrigj? Irritating? I'm going to go with irritating. It's the easiest one to remember. Anyway, 86 points. Irritating, or Isaac, as I now know him to be called, joined AOR midway through the season in Hungary and immediately showed very quick pace. He's scored points in every single race he's finished, including 2 podiums, one being in only his 3rd full race. And he finished the season, as I say, with 86 points. Probably would have been in and amongst the title contenders had he been there since the start. So if he sticks around next season, it's going to look good. Very strong driver, very quick, performs overtakes cleanly. The one downside to Isaac is what happened at Belgium when he forgot that when the lights go out, you are allowed to go. Now, I take some of the blame for this because I should have just drove around him, but since he was not there, I thought his car would have ghosted and I could drive through him. For some reason, it didn't ghost. I ploughed straight into the back of him and got front wing damage, which sort of ruined my race. He eventually retired from the session, unable to get his car moving. Now, we spoke to him after the race, trying to find out what actually happened. Was he not at his console? Was his PlayStation broke? Was his controller broke? Was there some other issue? This was his reason for missing the start at Belgium.
I was having a shit.
Number 11, Total P's, 73 points. Total Peas was actually quite a strong performer in the first half of the season. He was finishing in the points on a regular basis, scoring around the 4th, 5th place mark, but around the halfway point in the season, he was probably in or around the top 6 in the championship, and with a bit more speed in the second half of the season, he could probably have pushed on and challenged for podiums and maybe even a race win. But then around Christmas time, something completely changed with him. And I think he said he changed his driving style by turning traction control from full down to medium. And initially it worked because he got a 3rd place in the Chinese rerun just before Christmas. Then things really started to go wrong for him. First lap crashes and retirements in Germany, Hungary, Belgium and Italy really put an end to his good run of form, but what really got him in trouble was the fact that after each crash he then decided to rage quit the session. This actually got so bad that towards the end of the season he was almost on the borderline of being blacklisted for reaching the required amount of penalty points. He did have a brief return to form at the USA with a strong finish, but he was absent from the final 2 races of the season in Brazil and Abu Dhabi. Now, I did try and get an interview with Total Peas after Sochi when, surprise, surprise, he crashed and left the session early, but all he had to say to me was this.
Screw you guys, I'm going home.
Number 12, Habs for Life 634, 44 points. Initially, when Habs joined AOR early in the season, he was in and amongst the midfield runners. Few good results here and there, in particular in Spain, where he got a 6th place finish. However, he was involved in a number of incidents, notably taking T-Knock out in Canada and ruling to have deliberately crashed his car in Austria, which earned him a qualifying ban for Silverstone. Habs is the only driver who has actually earned enough points in AOR this season to earn a race ban just through his actions on the track. Something about the way he drives. It's very reminiscent of something in Formula One. Habs' greatest achievement this season, though, was in the Chinese Grand Prix when, in changing weather conditions, he made an intermediate set of tyres last all the way to the end, securing another 6th place finish, which boosted him up the title rankings a little bit. I think next season, if Habs stays out of trouble, he can probably finish in the points on a regular basis, but it looks like he might need to exercise a demon that seems to have possessed him this season. Honestly, who is that guy? Maldonado! Number 13, Koller, 38 points. Another Norwegian driver, Koller, joined AOR early on in the season in time for Baku and actually scored a few points early on in the season and looked quite quick. In particular, Spain, I think, where he picked up a nice haul of points. Qualifying seemed to be this guy's greatest strength. Germany and Hungary, he qualified in the top 3. Racecraft, however, not so good. Usually involved in a few incidents which would pull him down near the back or forced him to pit early. As the season went on, Koller's performances managed to drop down to the point where he was qualifying near the back, pretty much from Singapore onwards. That being said, though, let's not take away from the achievements here. He scored 38 points and in doing so became, after Ule, the 2nd greatest Norwegian Formula One driver of all time. Congratulations, mate. Number 14, Rafael Ferraz 222, 23 points. Rafael was another driver that joined AOR midway through the season. Initially a back runner, by his own admission as well, I'm sure. He has shown improvement as the season's gone on, and even though the results haven't always been what he'd hoped for, he has stuck around and continue to race with the rest of us, even if others around him are a bit quicker than him. You can't fault his work rate. He is there every single race and he does try his best. So hopefully going forward next season we can see a bit more from Rafael, maybe some regular points finishers. His highlight of this season was finishing P7 at Monza, and he's also got a few other strong points finishers as well, so hopefully we can see more of that next season. Hope you stick at it, Raphael. You are getting better, and hope to see you next season. Number 15, Pepe Lu 813, 17 points. Not much to say about Pepe, mainly because I don't know that much about him yet. He joined AOR quite late in the season. I think he's only completed 3 full races. In his first race at the USA, he seemed to go backwards in the race from a decent qualifying position, although at Abu Dhabi it went the other way round and he actually finished 4th. So be interesting to see what happens with Pepe next season, but based on the performances in the 3 races he's done so far, it looks promising. So all the best for the future, dude. Number 16, Alex OPTV Gaming, 8 points. Alex, seen here driving at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, was another latecomer to AOR. I think he joined us in time for Singapore. Results have been pretty inconsistent. It either tends to be a low points finish or a retirement. Not much more to read into Alex at this point, but hopefully next season we'll see whereabouts he fits into the field and what we can expect from him going forward. All the best, Alex. Hope to see a bit more from you next season, dude. Number 17, Kiko Andrick, 6 points. If you can't be arsed showing up to races, dude, I can't be arsed doing a clip about you. Next. And bottom of the pile in 18th place, Envoy Extreme, 4 points. Envoy has the unlucky distinction of having more DNFs than World Championship points this season. It all started really well in Australia, the highlight of the season being an 8th place finish that actually got him his 4 World Championship points. The low point of the season was, well, pretty much everything after that. Retirement after retirement after retirement. In fact, Envoy was only classified as a finisher in 3 of the 19 races he started. With that in mind, I think it's time to do a little bit of training for Envoy's benefit. This is what we call a checkered flag. It is weighed at the end of a race. Now, Envoy hasn't seen too many of these this season, so this is just to remind him what it actually looks like. Now, not all of the non-finishers are actually down to Envoy crashing his car. He did actually suffer quite a bit with connection issues midway through the season. I guess him and Lewis both watched the porn together, eh? In all seriousness though, Envoy, hopefully next season, with a stronger connection and a more reliable race pace, you might actually score some more points. Maybe even challenge for a race win or 2. But hey ho, we will see what happens next season. But all the best anyway, dude. So those were the 18 guys who were classified as actually finishing the season. We did also have 2 reserve drivers on standby that stepped in and filled in whenever certain drivers couldn't make it. One of them wins the award for the most original and best username, Cheating Knobhead. He raced, I think, 3 times throughout the season, scoring points in China and I think his home race of Germany. And the other reserve driver was a Romanian by the name of Alex Ursa, who holds the distinction of being so slow that he made the old Minardi team look like world beaters. Alex in particular holds a record in that at the Monaco Grand Prix, which was a 39-lap race, he managed to get lapped by race winner Tinock not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but 7 times. Yes, he was lapped 7 times in a 39-lap race. Technically, that means he completed less than 90% of the race distance and shouldn't have even been classified. However, a fan in the audience did manage to capture a clip on their phone of Alex racing around Monaco. Here is the clip. And finally, we come to this, the Wall of Shame. These are the drivers that at one point were racing in the league and for one reason or another no longer were. So Jonna LFC just quit because I don't think he was quick enough. Caveman Rich had other commitments. I think he welcomed a new baby into the family, so congratulations to him for that. Hope all is well there. Matty Huff 123 realised after about 2 races that he didn't like F1 2018 and stopped playing the game. Modern Nuke 3, another one that just really couldn't hack it, but I think he was spending more time on his FIFA Ultimate Team, little FIFA fanboy that he is. Samuletto 123 was far too quick for A3. They bumped him up to A2 after 2 races, and the fact he went on to win their championship says about how quick a driver he is. So hopefully next season we'll see him competing in the top level. Neon Ostra just decided F1 wasn't for him after half a season. Real My Copier, or Realm as we come to know him, held a distinction for completing less laps than the safety car. DX Moo, aka Dickhead, just couldn't drive. Alan underscore 7306 was in AOR for less time than Usain Bolt takes to run the 100 meters. And a special mention to AOR Gizmo, the former coordinator of our league, who basically threw his toys out the pram and quit when he didn't get his own way. What happened was back in the first Chinese Grand Prix, the one that never was, Gizmo jump started, had an accident at turn 1, saw that one other driver was suffering from lag, and then decided the entire field had lag and the race was going to have to be rerun. And basically, when the entire field said they didn't want this, he threw his toys out the pram and reacted kind of like this, and then he left the league altogether. So that about wraps it up, guys. Congratulations to Ule again on winning the championship. If we race together again next season, look forward to it. If not, all the best in a more competitive league than this one. And as I say, if anyone is watching this and they would like to join a competitive racing league, I highly recommend it. There are quite a few options out there. It doesn't necessarily have to be AOR. And to the guys I've raced with this season, I've taken the mick out of you a bit in this video, but I like you guys really. You were great to race with. It was good fun. Hopefully next season, if we're all paired up again, then it'll be equally as competitive. You'll just have to get used to seeing the rear of my car instead of the front of it next season. But yeah, if you're around, I'll catch you guys next season. If not, thanks for watching. Great to race with you. Take care, guys.